We Were Here is one of my favorite co-op games of all time. You and your friend are trapped in two separate locations with your only means of communication being a walkie-talkie. The original game was a student project, and it ended up spawning a total of 4 sequels. I've talked about both the first and the second game on this channel, links below, and I really enjoyed both of them. They have their flaws, but that's true of everything. The games were still thoroughly enjoyable. In 2019, Total Mayhem Games released the third entry in the series, We Were Here Together. The first game was about 2 hours long, and the second was about 3. This game is supposed to take 6 to 7 hours to complete, which is an insane jump in length, especially for having the same development time. I'm both excited and nervous to try this out. Doubling the length of your game while still meeting the yearly release window is a tough task, so I hope the game isn't too rushed. I've always perceived the We Were Here games as relatively short co-op experiences to knock out in an afternoon, but a game of this size is going to take multiple recording sessions. With that in mind, I hopped into a call with my buddy Gelrat and we booted up the game. It begins by completely annihilating our eardrums. I made it match my full profile now, because
okay, it's all.
Unlike the other We Were Here games, you don't choose a role to play in the start menu. This is because you and your friend are actually in the same location. I'm gonna open my door and head out. Just like in the previous 2 games, there is no proximity chat, which is kinda surprising since you start the game directly next to each other. I can excuse it for the other 2 since you only spend a short period of time together and it probably wouldn't be worth the trouble to implement. But for a game where you spend a decent amount of time directly next to each other, I really wish we didn't have to use the radios. This game returns to cartoony and stylized visuals similar to the first game. It's by far my favorite of the games graphically. The colors and 3D models fit each area that you explore perfectly, which makes this game stand out a lot. The lighting is especially well done. We spawned in this cozy little cabin with a device putting out scrambled radio chatter. There are several areas blocked by different gates with slots for these red wheels. You need to match the shapes on the wheels to gain access to them. One wheel is in the radio room, one is outside the cabin, and one is by the fireplace. I really like that we start off in a little contained hub like this where we can explore and get used to the controls. It led to us goofing off a bit, which is always appreciated.
Long live the king.
Attaching one of the wheels to a device on the roof allows us to do something, but we can't really tell what quite yet. The next wheel is frozen solid and needs to be melted in the kitchen before it can be used on a gate leading to this little dock with 2 machines on it. The final wheel unlocks a garage area with a big old vehicle inside. We can't really interact with any of these devices yet, leaving us with only one option.
We might need to look for more valves.
After finding another valve on the roof, Jell and I unlocked a brand new room with a map inside. There are coordinates lining the edges, but the only information we found resembling that format are the disjointed ramblings coming from the radio. By this point, we figured out what all we needed to do with the device on the roof. I can cycle through several different colored waveforms, and Jell will have to try and match them using my instructions. Once the waveforms are aligned, audio will come through the radio.
Do you hear anything?
It's kind of static. It sounds like a bumblebee's in a blender.
Make it a little wider.
Oh, we got some more tunes, baby.
Hell yeah.
After cycling through a few different music channels, we found a distress signal that gives us coordinates. That map room can now be utilized to triangulate their position, although that is a lot easier said than done. We have to align this cursor to each of the 3 locations given, but this is a 2-person task. One wheel moves the cursor vertically while the other moves it horizontally. You can't just move it and stop either. You have to hold down the button to move it up and right and let go to let it move left and down. This means that you and your partner have to be perfectly in sync to get this done. Once all 3 locations are marked, we learn where we need to go, but our vehicle needs to be fueled first. This is kinda weird. Those machines on the dock have several numbered switches on them that are apparently linked to our vehicle here. Using the device next to the vehicle, we need to get the fuel line to exactly 6. If Jell hits a switch labeled 5, and I hit this one labeled -4, it puts the fuel level at 1. This is fairly basic math, so we got everything up and running in no time. We hop in and make our way to the distress signal. I think this opening section was really cool. We got lost a few times figuring out what we were supposed to do since there were so few instructions, but it only took us about half an hour to sort out every puzzle and get to the next area. Being in the same place is really cool and makes for a great introduction area, since if you don't understand what your partner is describing, you can just walk over to them and see for yourself. It's a really smart way to ease the player in. After finding a snowmobile assumingly used by the people who sent the distress call, we find ourselves at a massive mineshaft looking thing with an emergency flare soaring overhead. To solve this puzzle, we need to take 2 separate elevators and navigate the wooden structure while using levers to help each other move higher. There are symbols on each elevator that match the levers scattered around to signify what is linked to what. This was interesting for a little bit, but I think it's way too big. We spent 40 minutes here trying to figure out what levers to pull at what times and how many spaces each individual elevator can move, and in what order we needed to do everything. The longer it went on, the more drained I got. This single puzzle took longer than the entire introductory area, which had several puzzles scattered around instead of just one. The only part of this puzzle that was interesting to me was the part when I took a break to drink some of this video's sponsor Gamersups in the hope of waking myself up a little bit with 100 milligrams of caffeine per serving. Gamersups sells a delicious energy formula that has 0 calories and several essential vitamins, making it my personal choice of energizing beverage. I've personally been drinking a lot of the flavors raw meat and nuclear bombsicle lately, both of which are really refreshing flavors for combating the summer heat. Feel free to give Gamersups a shot by using code BENAGAIN to get some free sample packs for a limited time. The code fully covers shipping, so it is 100% free. Now that we've escaped the external mineshaft nightmare, we move into the internal mineshaft nightmare. This is basically the same exact puzzle as before, but with color coding instead of symbols. You can operate these revolving doors instead of elevators. This puzzle is substantially shorter than the one outside, so I ended up liking it a lot more. We completed it in around 10 minutes, so it was a lot less draining. After exiting the mine, we find what seems to be the castle from the previous games. Another flare can be seen in the distance.
What the Oh, there's a castle!
There's lore and door.
And mist. I can't rhyme.
Get ourselves a fire, go and make some s'mores.
To get to the castle, we need to get across this huge gap. By moving tokens around on this device, different platforms will appear, allowing someone to cross the bridge.
I'm on the moon. I'm on... Yeah. Oh, but then it pulls that away. Okay, wait. Be careful.
You okay?
Each token has a symbol that aligns with one of the platforms. Each platform has a lock on it, but we weren't totally sure how to engage them.
Are you able to get to the comet?
Yes, I can.
Are you standing on it?
Should I be?
I think you can.
You've murdered me.
Oh.
After some experimentation, here's what I figured out. These lights here indicate where Gel is standing. As I move these platforms, they automatically lock as long as the sequence is long enough. If you step on a platform that isn't locked, you fall. This was confusing at first because they don't detect contact, they detect if you are above the platform. So I would jump, and the platform would fall before I even came into contact with it, leaving Gel and I completely confused. After fumbling around until the right sequence was discovered, Gel was then able to spin a wheel that restored every single platform so I could cross as well. I really like the idea behind this puzzle, but I don't like the locking mechanic. Its execution made it really confusing to figure out what was going on. I'm curious what this puzzle would have looked like if we just had to figure out the sequence. Spinning the wheel to let me over blocks off the area Gel was in, forcing us to go into separate rooms. This is where we enter the traditional We Were Here format of being in 2 separate areas and relying on only description. I really liked our brief bout of being in the same place, even if it did have a dip in the middle, but I'm excited to go back to the norm and see what they've done this time around. When we spawn in, we both see a little grid laid out like Battleship. Each row has a letter and each column has a number. There are little spheres with elemental logos on them that are placed kinda randomly. Gel has posters on the walls that translate numbers into coordinates, and I have books on the floor in these cute little arrow mouth smiley faces that have numbers printed on the covers. As I read out the numbers, Gel can translate them into coordinates and place more spheres on the table. The little arrow smiley faces I see indicate which spheres need to be connected, which I can do on my table. Gel has this little diagram on the floor saying what elements beat other elements. When you line that up with my arrows, it tells you what element to put on each sphere. There's 5 spheres that are already there, so we just had to start with those. This green sphere in the corner is one starting point, and we know that green beats yellow, so Gel needs to place a yellow sphere. Confused? Me too. But we did it. I definitely liked this puzzle, but I still think they overcomplicated it. That's a really common theme with this game. It feels like there are always too many moving parts and too many things to keep track of all at once. For a game based entirely on description, a certain amount of simplicity is needed to keep things running smoothly. I think We Were Here Together has crossed over that line. But this is just the start of the game, so things might simmer down as we go. Gel and I each spot some open paths to move on, leading us to an area that's easier on his dyslexia. We're forced to cast hygiene aside as we both crawl into the sewers, leading to 2 separate cutscenes. Mine shows me suddenly getting the handle of a glowing blue dagger as ghostly voices argue about if it should be destroyed to contain some kind of curse. Meanwhile, Gel finds a stranger who claims to have been trapped in the castle for a long time. He claims that Gel needs to get a stone from a nearby machine and bring it to a greenhouse. It's officially time for our next puzzle, an electricity-based puzzle. We tried this puzzle for about 30 minutes before getting so tired of it that we took a 4-month break before picking the game back up. Here's how it works. Gel has a room full of massive towers and dual-colored fuses that he can reorganize. I have a web with the same fuses that are immovable. We need to figure out what order to put all the fuses in to power every single tower in Gel's room, using the information on my web. If we take too long or mess up too many times, we are electrocuted to death. Yay! The problem we kept encountering was that we could light up all but the final pillar before running out of correctly colored fuses. You know what the solution was? To do it backwards.
We just did it back. I guess that makes sense because the only way to have blue connect to the red blue is if we have it back. How the fuck? Why?
That's really weird.
Is there like an indicator on the map?
We assumed that the start point would be where the electricity appears when you have nothing connected, but that's not the case. It's all backwards with no indicator that we could find, continuing our trend of overcomplication.
I don't know if we're stupid or like there's a part of me that wants to like, oh yeah, in the video like complain about this puzzle, but I just know people are just gonna be like, you guys are stupid.
If we say it's stupid, and then we're actually the ones who are stupid, people will comment and push the video. Gel picks up the stone and we move onwards through 2 newly unlocked doors. This leads us to more cutscenes. Mine is still a bunch of confusing nonsense about the dagger, which has part of the blade now. Gel meets up with the stranger again, learning that the tower he has entered was supposed to create something called a soul stone. Gel is supposed to find all the pieces of this stone for some reason. The first puzzle in this area involves a lot of different pipes. By pressing buttons, inserting certain pipes, and flicking switches, we control the direction and combination of several colors of gas. There are multiple other puzzles in this area that we have to just kind of ignore for now, which is very difficult to do when you don't know what components are for what puzzles. I wish there was a more heavy separation here for the sake of clarity. I ended up describing the contents of 3 different floors to Gel when only one was relevant at that moment in time. It doesn't help that all the pipes needed for this first puzzle are scattered across all 3 of the different floors. At least they gave me some kegs so I can irresponsibly numb the mental fatigue. What we're supposed to do is figure out how our pipes are connected to each other using these numbers, then configure them to ensure that all 3 of these barrels are filled with their correct colors. It took us 40 minutes to figure out how to fill the first barrel.
This? What the fuck? Okay, it filled up green. Oh my god!
After another 10 minutes, we managed to fill the other 2 barrels. This means I can focus on just the top 2 floors while Gel,
Oh, hello, Mister.
Now, as awesome as it would be to interact with this giant plant dude, Gel is freaking dying after hopping into this death tunnel.
This is filling up with water and I can't climb out.
Kyle, you there?
Compass north. To the north east. I have no music on for me, but it's like super calm. I'm just slowly dying. It's fine.
What's that doing?
Oh, it's rotating star.
Okay, so star is the one to the south, and which one do you need me to move, and what direction is it in?
Okay, now the one I need the most right now is the fucking Saturn.
I don't know where Saturn is. What direction is it?
Saturn is northeast.
How's this?
That is rotating something that I can't see because I'm underwater now. It's so blurry.
It's the only thing northeast. Oh, there you are. I really like this puzzle. Gel has to give me directions as to which gears need to be rotated. I need to solve a little sliding puzzle to activate those gears, and we need to time our movements so that an escape ladder is properly aligned.
What I stop? And I'm out.
That was so stressful. This was really difficult, but the concept itself is easy to understand. That's what I really missed from the first 2 games. Puzzles that are difficult and require solid communication skills, but that still feel manageable when only presented with a walkie-talkie. Welcome to Botany class. Today, we'll be committing murder. To kill this big goofy plant, Gel needs to combine a red, blue, and green liquid together to create this vial of poison. He has a greenhouse that can be used to grow ingredients, and I have recipes in a brewer to turn those ingredients into our colored liquids. We can even transport items to each other with this cute little cart system. Alright, he's on the way.
Okie dokie. What'd you call it? I just caught that. What'd you say?
I really enjoyed this puzzle. We got to work together to craft unique recipes using different sets of instructions. It took a while and was a little confusing at first, but once we figured out the basics, it was a super fun puzzle.
Alright, baby boy. I love you. What? Oh, okay. No! Oh, and I can grab the rock out of his stomach.
Next, we get even more cutscenes, which are about the same as always. Lots of vague dagger spirit talk for me, and a quest to find more rocks for Gel. This time, we're placed in rooms that are almost identical to one another, spare a few details here and there. Our goal is to make them truly be identical. Each time we make our rooms more similar to each other, we earn a book with a letter on it. Gel and I spent a good hour matching clock speeds and tones, ordering chimera paintings, unshuffling flower paintings, trying to figure out how these glowing purple statues work, and placing random objects around the room. I didn't really enjoy this area all that much. The chimera paintings were as manageable as ever, making them boring. The object placement was a cinch, and matching the clock was challenging but ultimately doable. Trying to unshuffle the flower paintings took a while, but it was because of a minor miscommunication, so that wasn't too bad. The problem I have with these puzzles is that they're boring. There's no stakes, no interesting mechanics, just matching paintings and putting down objects. After coming from a dangerous drowning puzzle followed by brewing potions, this just felt underwhelming. The one puzzle that I really enjoyed was the glowing statue puzzle, although there was one major issue. Gel was able to pick up the book right at the start, and I was not, and we couldn't figure out why. Eventually, we learned that Gel's statue was a sensor. Since my room is full of multiple of these statues, Gel's would glow whenever I got close to the correct one, letting me know what order to press them in. This is such a cool concept, dampened by the glitch that we got, making us think that I had somehow done my half wrong. We did everything correct, Gel's game just glitched and let him grab that book early. With all our books acquired, we just had to place them in the order written on the other player's wall. After shuffling to the next area, we had some very different situations.
Going through a hidden passageway that just unlocked.
I don't have enough shards.
There's a dude playing an organ in my room.
Does he look like us?
I can't really tell. He kind of looks like the Jester, and he's actually singing out loud now. I'm gonna listen to this. The throne.
We about to do alchemy, baby? Oh god.
To most people, seeing this book would be a little worrisome. Those are some very long and complex words. But for Gel, this is bad, because he's dyslexic.
Oh my god, there's so much.
I'm a little overwhelmed with this puzzle.
This game has upped how many moving parts are in each puzzle. Things were already more convoluted and hard to navigate when we could both see everything, let alone when we had to describe what we saw to each other. But this puzzle completely takes the cake. It is truly the most ridiculously overcomplicated puzzle in the entire game. As soon as that singing man shuts up, Gel and I need to do alchemy. Here's how we had to solve this puzzle. My blackboard shows a list of ingredients that can be combined to eventually create this gem at the top. Unfortunately for me, it's all two-letter abbreviations. Gel needs to use a book to translate these abbreviations into actual ingredients. I then need to use my own book to figure out what each ingredient looks like using black and white illustrations. Unfortunately, the names of these ingredients are incredibly similar to each other. For example, I need to be able to differentiate between paraxyroborate and paraxyoborate. Is that complicated enough for you? Because there's still more. Gel can combine and separate different ingredients, both of which are necessary to progress. If he doesn't have the ingredients needed to do the next step, we need to figure out a way to reverse engineer that ingredient by breaking apart what we have until eventually we can form that gem. With that crap over, my dagger is finally completed and Gel's stone is as well. I learned that apparently my dagger can be used to transfer one's essence into the stone that Gel just made. The lady who kept talking to me during cutscenes is now here as some kind of ghost. Meanwhile, Gel learns that the stranger he was helping was this jester dude, like the same guy who was playing the organ in my room, and now he has some kind of power because of the soul stone. Gel then gets locked up.
Ben?
I just got out of a cutscene. I'm in a weird place.
I'm trapped in a cage. I can't do anything.
Okay, you're in a cage? Okay, I'm in a maze underground with a candle.
So it turned out the guy, one of the explorers that I've been talking to, he was the jester all along, and he trapped me, and the stone that I created was the soul stone, and I don't know, stupid lore.
It's good to know that the lore wasn't able to interest either of us. I'm kind of sick of magic daggers and stones at this point. I literally just released a video about a game that uses the same trite nonsense, even though they were recorded months apart. Something more specific that I'm confused by is the marionette in the jester. We've always had this marionette dude in the last games, but then this one has this jester. Are they the same character? Why is one not strung up if they are? I was fairly quickly able to release Gel from his cage so we could solve the final puzzle. We each see 4 knight statues, although mine have levers in front of them. We're supposed to make all the knights face forward, with Jell being able to rotate the statues and me being able to change the direction that they rotate. This means that all we really need to figure out is how our statues are related to one another. When Jell presses the buttons, all the statues rotate, so we just need to check what colored banners are behind each statue and... oh. Well, since these are blocked off, we'll have to use some trial and error to figure out which of the statues are attached to each other. One of the levers was broken, so we had to work around that too. Like the smart young lads we are, we managed to solve it through sheer intellect.
Flip the switch. I'm just gonna fuck around and see if I can get it.
Which switch?
Just a random switch, and I'm just gonna keep tinkering until I get something.
The Jester dude faces off against the Ghost Lady in this weird magic battle that takes place during the last puzzle, which brings things back to the format that I like. Jell and I are given different clues about a row of statues. My clues allude to where Jell needs to place an assortment of weapons, and Jell's clues allude to where I need to place an assortment of shields. Once everything is set correctly, we get a final cutscene.
It's you.
Have done so much.
Aww.
But the soul stone must receive the soul. Sacrifice one and I will save the other. Let this be our covenant. Now choose quickly. He will soon break my barrier.
What? No! Ben! What? No! Why did he have to die? I'm the one that's supposed to die. Ben?
Yeah.
You killed yourself. Why?
Cause I win. I sacrificed myself to save the friend.
You picked that?
Yeah.
Oh,
I was the one with the
didn't
knife.
give
I
me
had
a
2 options.
You son of a bitch! Ah, damn it! I'm the one that's supposed to die.
We Were Here Together is a beautiful game. It's visually stunning from front to back, and you can really tell that a lot of effort was put into the graphics. Unfortunately, I prioritized gameplay, and that was very odd this time around. The first 2 games had a fairly middle-of-the-pack level of difficulty. There were some easy puzzles, some hard ones, but everything felt balanced. This game overcomplicated almost every single puzzle. There were too many things to keep track of, too many minute differences to account for while trying to describe things to each other, and a plot that was just confusing and vague. I've now looked through all of the cutscenes on both sides multiple times, and honestly, I just don't care. I could probably sit down and try and figure out what they're talking about, but it's just uninteresting to me, which is unfortunate. If you're looking for a hefty challenge when it comes to your communication skills, this game might be up your alley. For me and Jell, not so much. The level of difficulty in the other 2 games was perfect for us, so this made for a much less enjoyable experience. The number of puzzles seemed to be around the same, but the difficulty doubled the length of the gameplay. The next 2 games have very different projected lengths, with the 4th being about 12 hours long and the 5th being back to around 3. I hope that for the 4th game that means there are more puzzles, but not overcomplicated puzzles. We Were Here Together isn't for me, but that doesn't mean it's bad by any means. It just doesn't jive with the reasons that I enjoyed the first 2 entries in the series. If you enjoyed the first 2 games, I would definitely give it a shot so you can formulate your own opinion. I hope to see you all again. Have a great rest of your day.